and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking about my autism diagnosis and what it meant from my psychological diagnosis report. So I'm going to be reading straight from the report itself and what my diagnosis actually means. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's get into it. But I must start beforehand with a little warning. The contents of this report should be read as a whole and not in part. They are confidential and should be not disclosed to anybody without express permission of the person whom about the report has been written, which is me. So, reason for Gemma's assessment. Gemma was referred by her GP for an assessment to determine whether she had an autism spectrum condition. Gemma described having difficulty reading the body language of others. She finds it hard to understand jokes and takes things literally. She struggled to make friends and friendships are problematic for her. The information in this report was derived from an interview with Gemma's parents and her aunt, using the diagnostic interview for social and communication disorders, as well as my own interactions and observations of Gemma, which was the psychologist who wrote this report. Her perinatal history. Gemma's mother, Miss Newby, had no problems during her pregnancy with Gemma, who was born 6 weeks premature. Gemma was often sick as a baby. Gemma was an unusually passive baby who did not seek any social attention. Gemma made some eye contact. Gemma showed no eagerness to be picked up. She enjoyed lap games, although she did not appreciate in these. Gemma developed baby babble, although her language itself was delayed. Gemma often responded to speech of others. Gemma showed little, if any, curiosity in her environment around her. She was not eager to be held or propped up to see things which were going on around her. Her parents were unsure if Gemma even pointed to objects or events and looked to her parents in order to share her interests. Gemma did look if others pointed out things to her. Gemma would find lullaby music uncontrollably sad. Gemma sometimes would flap her hands, possibly due to excitement. Gemma's body sometimes appeared stiff, like it was going through her whole body. Gemma was about 9 months old when her parents became to be concerned about her. Gemma was delayed with some of her developmental milestones sitting up. Gemma's gross motor skills. Gemma's developmental milestones with gross motor skills were delayed, i.e. independent sitting, walking, riding a bicycle. Gemma has always been clumsy and had poor coordination for PE and games, for which she hated. She has a slightly unusual walk. Gemma isn't always in a rush and is apt to trip over. Gemma was not being delayed in being clean and dry by day and night. She had difficulties as a child with issues which needed treatment. There was some delay in Gemma being able to eat solid foods. Gemma struggled to feed herself with a spoon and fork, and also to struggle to use a knife and fork. Gemma gagged on food which was lumpy, and her food had to be pureed. There was delay in Gemma also being able to dress herself and in being able to tie her shoelaces. Gemma was unable to dress herself. She got her shoes often on the wrong feet, and had difficulties getting her arms into clothing. She was excessively slow at getting dressed. She has little awareness of the suitability of clothing, like I do now, because obviously I'm wearing a hoodie and it's cold. Domestic skills. Gemma was delayed in being able to fetch and carry a simple message. She was delayed in being able to undertake small tasks without supervision. She was not always willing to help. Gemma now undertakes some domestic tasks under her own initiative. She can cook pasta or pizza. Independence. Gemma can avoid danger of falling from heights. She does not have a full sense of traffic danger and was hit by a car over 5 years ago when apparently I ran out into the road, which wasn't that true, but I got hit by a car, yes. She does not have a well-developed sense of social danger. Gemma can go to places that are relatively remote and strange, although this requires instruction because Gemma will need to know exactly where she's going. Gemma was delayed in being able to go to the local shop on her own in an age when she could be left at home for half the day. Her parents said that Gemma lacks common sense. So, yeah, that's kind of the first bits of my diagnosis. Let's go on to language. Receptive language, i.e. understanding of language. Although Gemma understands the meaning of individual words, she may not fully understand the meaning of words when they are put together in sentences. Gemma understands concepts relating to future events. Gemma has some appreciation of humour, particularly visual humour. She does not understand verbal jokes. Gemma's response to communication of others is good. Gemma can take language literally. Expressive language, i.e. spoken. There was delay in the development of Gemma's expressive language. She asks questions and her speech can be easily understood. Gemma's speech can be long-winded. Gemma often used to talk to herself. Non-verbal language. The development of Gemma's body language was delayed and remains still limited. She understands simple social gestures, shaking a fist to mean anger or finger on lips to indicate silence. She does not use declarative gestures pointing to objects, events, or people because she wants you to join in and share her interest. Gemma makes some use of head nodding and shaking to aid her social interactions. She does not use descriptive gestures to help describe objects or her actions. Gemma does emotionally expressive gestures, although these may be inappropriate, i.e. Gemma would give anybody a hug. The tone of Gemma's voice also tends to be flat. She tries to smile but can pull an unnatural grimace. Gemma's facial expressions are limited and she makes little if any use of language to aid her social interactions. So that's kind of, you can gather where this is going. In summary, Gemma tends to communicate regarding her own interests. She has little or no interest in other people's concerns or ideas. With adults, Gemma showed no preference for her carers and she could often be left anywhere. She had no awareness of her own identity. Gemma showed a brief interest in her parents' no return from being absent. Gemma's response when in pain or distress was often dramatic. If Gemma was often to notice that someone was upset, she may offer some comfort. Her approaches were often one-sided. Gemma did not alter her behaviour to indicate she had an awareness of how another person may be feeling. She showed some interest in other people's successes or happy events. She sometimes shared her activities or interests. Gemma struggled to make eye contact and sometimes looked at people with brief glances. She also felt more comfortable around adults, possibly because she was bullied by her same age peers. With the same age peers, Gemma was delayed in watching age peer groups with interest, although she did spontaneously join in with them. Gemma could appear indifferent towards her age peers. Gemma's preferred companions were younger or older than her. Gemma had a circle of friends who all went to church together. 2 of these friends have since died. Gemma wanted friends but had some difficulty with how she related to other children of her age. In summary, Gemma makes social approaches actively, even though these tend to be a little one-sided, perhaps inappropriately and socially naive. Gemma does not modify her behaviour according to the needs, interests and responses of the person who she's trying to approach. So let's go on to imagination. The development of Gemma's simple pretend play on her own and role play with age peers was delayed. She did not play with toys as if they were real. She did not engage in role play. Gemma showed no curiosity about other people, her environment or the wider world. In summary, Gemma had no spontaneous pretend play. Any pretend play was copied from others, and most of the time Gemma was a passive child who went along and copied others' activity. If she was left to her own devices, Gemma's imaginative play was poor in quality and often repetitive. Gemma had some difficulty with fine motor tasks, e.g. sewing. She was a little delayed in being able to read. There was delay in Gemma being able to do simple addition and being able to tell the time. Gemma can tolerate gentle touch but does not react well to firm touch, which says she hurts her. Gemma has always been upset by loud noises, i.e. police cars, motorbikes, and people who talk loud. Routines and resistance to change. In order to be able to manage her day, Gemma needs things to be structured and routine. She constantly clock watches and keeps her routine down to the minute. She does not cope well with change or any sudden alterations to her day. The theme of Gemma's conversation tends to be repetitive. She tends to collect facts on specific subjects, e.g. Buffy. She has a fascination with some TV programs and DVDs, and she'll watch these over and over and over again. Gemma has watched seasons 1 to 8 of Buffy 14 or 15 times. Actually more than that now, but yeah, back then I had watched it quite a lot. Pattern of activity. Gemma's attention span for self-chosen activity is good, however, her attention span for others is fleeting. Gemma has some varied interests, but repetitive interests that tend to be prominent unless led by others. Behaviour affecting other people. When she was younger, Gemma would wander off. I'm not going to read that bit. Gemma can sometimes cause difficulties in public. She can be stubborn. Gemma makes embarrassing remarks in public. Well, I don't. Not as much as I used to. She has always interrupted conversation. She has always approached strangers with no regard for her own safety. She becomes fixated on issues and finds it difficult to let it go. Gemma has needed a level of attention from her parents and required a level of supervision and support that is well above that which we would expect for someone of her age with her general level of ability. Back then I was 24, nearly 25 years old at the time, so It says Gemma is a 25-year-old woman who had the developmental history, impairments of social interaction and communication, imagination and repetitive activities of behaviour of a youngster that would have been consistent with a diagnosis of childhood autism. Gemma was delayed in some aspects of her general development, and therefore she would not meet the criteria to be given the diagnosis of Asperger syndrome, but rather that she has high functioning autism. Although Gemma has HFA, I nevertheless she attached a psychological formation. So let's go into this. This is the diagram for Asperger syndrome, as I think this is helpful for illustrating the impairments associated with autism and how they can impact on general well-being. So Gemma has core problems in the area of putting herself in others' shoes, using social cues to guide her social interactions, use of social language, building on conversation, lack of a two-way conversation, and problems of understanding body language, emotional self-perception and regulation, coping with change, incorporating new challenges into her routine, organisation, planning and goal setting, hindsight and forethought, shifting her attention and thinking in a flexible way, and being able to see the bigger picture. Often with children with high-functioning autism move from primary to secondary school, they run into difficulties. They have to be much more self-sufficient. The social situation becomes much more fraught as young people begin to develop their friendships and cliques. Gemma may well have found the secondary school environment problematic, and certainly she was bullied. The bullying would have been traumatic enough for someone with HFA. The complete change in environment, adjusting to the more grown-up culture of school, and the need to be more self-reliant, this may well have caused additional stress to Gemma. The consequences of all the difficulties associated with HFA mean that with quick blend everyday life and stressful events, being bullied and rejected are going to be difficult for Gemma, and indeed she needed considerable support. Due to this constant difficulty Gemma has experienced during her interaction with age peers, she may over time have begun to lack self-confidence. Increasingly, she may have shut herself away and kept herself busy with her favourite activities, e.g. watching Buffy. Chronic stress will also make Gemma susceptible to mental health issues. She may experience high levels of anxiety and depression. It is safe to assume that Gemma is likely to experience high anxiety most of the time, even within her familiar environments. If stress is built up on top of this, there are likely changes in her behaviour. She may appear less motivated to try new things and may focus more on her special interests. She may then become inflexible. People with HFA tend to be less stressed when their environments and lives have at least some structure and predictability. They may have appeared to want to spend increasing amounts of time on their own in their safe place, a place where stress levels can simmer down. When people with HFA are stressed, they may become more inflexible in their thinking and problem solving. Gemma lacks emotional language to inform others about how she's feeling at times of increased distress. This is likely to be experienced by changes in her behaviour. Gemma often cries and her tears are due to different emotions. It may be therefore difficult for her family to sort out what is going on at the time. Neurodevelopmental disorders such as HFA are lifelong. People who do not have autism have to get themselves into their world because no fault of their own struggle to understand the world of the neurotypical. It is important that people that do not think that a diagnosis of HFA is somehow a mild form of autism. People with HFA have significant impairments, which particularly impact on their relationships, both personal and in the world of work. The general presentation of people with HFA may vary depending on the environment they are in. So therefore, it is not surprising that the severity of impairments associated with autistic spectrum condition that people with HFA are vulnerable to mental health issues. These can lead to being diagnosed due to their difficulties with communication and describing feelings. They may not be able to tell you what triggered their distress because they may not have made a link between the event and the trigger and how they're currently feeling or behaving. These things tend to unravel over time. Underlying distress and mental health problems are often expressed in terms of behaviour, intensity, duration and frequency. It is important to bear in mind that mental health problems in HFA may present themselves as difficulty. Although Gemma needs to be specific instructions and know exactly what's expected of her in the work setting, once she understands that she can do it, i.e. she's a little slow to get there, but she'll get there in the end. Yes, basically that's about it for the diagnosis as it were, but I hope that's helped understand what my actual diagnosis is, and I will attach some articles down below in the video description down below, and please give this a like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll be back with you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.